Hey, ladies and gentlemen, how you all doing? This is Con Over coming to you with Company of Heroes 2v2 action, and I admit I picked up this game because I saw that it was on the Lisores River. Now, I'm sure I butchered that, and I am... Okay, I was really confused for a second, because I thought this was a Wehrmacht post, and I was like, wait a second, Germans are fighting on the side of the Americans? Is this the Cold War? No, sir, it's World War II. But down here in the south, playing it as the yellow-trunked Americans, we have the forces of stam11. His ally, playing the Soviets in the blue, is going to be Runner with only one N. Take a quick look at commanders before we get too far into other things. For the Americans, it's going to be Armor Company, Heavy Cav, and Infantry Company. For the Soviets, he's going to go immediately for Guard Motor Coordination Tactics. So again, the 85 tank in here, as well as those guards, which continue to be a dominant force on the map. Their opponents up in the north, playing as the OKW, we are going to see a kanji player. Unfortunately, again, I don't speak Mandarin or Japanese or Korean very well, so anybody who does understand that, please let me know. I'd be very interested to know what that is. He's bringing in Breakthrough Doctrine, Luftwaffe Ground Forces, and naturally, Special Operations. His ally playing as the Purple Wehrmacht, it's going to be the forces of Kitler. He's got Elite Troops Doctrine, Storm Doctrine, and Mechanized Assault. Now, the Storm Doctrine I don't see nearly ever. But I suppose it could be good in a, higher team game. But let's take a look at this map real quick. Because this is one that, again, I haven't seen that often. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. But it's actually kind of beautiful. It really kind of is. So this lovely little, water wheel going on right here. We have this kind of... river that's just wending its way through the middle of the map. And these bridges, which are definitely going to be foci for combat as the game progresses. We will see that the Soviets have already picked up their expansion fuel, the OKW picking up for the Germans shortly thereafter. And let's quickly look at the start builds. Double Rifleman, and going to see a Maxim plus conscript opening. So a curious opening indeed. Stam, in the meantime, we'll go for the Heavy Cav Company, looking to leverage that late-game Pershing. Meanwhile, for the Wehrmacht, we're going to see Kitler opening up with 2 Grenadiers and a MG42. He's technically not in cover, which is just a shame, because he's like a foot away from being actually in cover, which is ridiculous to me. Oh well. Americans, in the meantime, pushing across this bridge, maybe? Nope, never mind, not doing it. I would like to see like an explosive trap on the bridge itself. I think that'd be so much fun. It would remind me of the days of, would be Samoski, maybe? Where people would just blow the bridges up immediately to make sure there was no way their opponent was going to get across the river. Now, let's see. Kanji player, okay, he's already got an SWS in. He's opened up with just a couple of Volksgrenadiers. And it looks like he's settling down a little bit over here in the western side. Volksgrens, kind of chilling. And Sturm Pioneers coming in behind. I guess that's a workable strategy when you have more than one player on the map, but that doesn't always make for the best viewing, so hopefully he'll get inspired soon enough. And with one of his opponents going for a kind of a modified meta, that should be happening pretty darn soon. However, what will also be happening pretty soon is this rear echelon troop will be separated from each other, with Wehr going across the bridge and leaving one guy... Oh, never mind, he warps across the Wehr right by the time it gets completed. It's a little bit of a cheat if you think about it. I'm a little bit kind of disappointed by that. Volksgrens pushing on over to push back the Rifleman attack here. Though this building is going to fall into the hands of the Americans, and I imagine this mortar team is going to be setting up pretty quickly on that garrison. Yes, it will.
Weapon rack is now open.
And a very, very quick weapon rack unlock. That's shockingly fast. They're going to need it, though, because as of right now, one Rifleman squad is going to be pushed back with lots of losses. Sturm Pioneers, in the meantime, putting pressure on the other one, who's only got 1 rifle out that window. He's going to be losing models like crazy. Yep, he's on to 3 already. A couple more bursts of fire will see him reduce to only about 40% of his manpower. Nope, not quite. But neither is he able to continue his action on the front lines. Now, Kitler over here is going to do decently well. There's a little that Maxim that's going to be a bit of a problem for him, as well as another Maxim. Where is it? Oh, pushing over here across his ford. And this machine gun is still technically not in cover. Which just boggles my mind that he hasn't checked on that just yet. But Kitler's going to throw up a bunker over here to the eastern side of the map. And most of the Americans and Soviets are falling down a little bit in ticketage. A very, very interesting build thus far. And indeed, I'm trying to take a look at the tech choices so far. We are going to see a battle group headquarters coming out for the OKW. And this Maxim over here is trying to push back these Grenadiers. Will succeed in doing so, but there's already a machine gun coming down here from Kitler, which is kind of inspiring in a certain way. We are going to see a very, very quick push to Battle Phase 2 out of the Wehrmacht. The Americans, in the meantime, picking up a captain. And with those weapon racks already unlocked, we also are going to see a fighting position kind of locked down. And the Soviets are floating an absolute ridiculous amount of manpower. Over 1,000 manpower less than 6 minutes into the game. Barely making any units. I'm trying to figure out what the heck they have in mind, because I'm not even sure that they know. With only 4 squads on the map, it doesn't look like they're going to be pushing forward to anything else anytime soon. We're going to see a little bit of, team play right over here on the eastern side of the map. These folks going to just at least meeting up with their bros. And I'm trying to speed things up a little bit because we're having a little bit of static play. You know how much I love that. But no, it seems everyone seems to be content. I'm just kind of playing it very, very slowly. Finally, we're going to see combat engineers push across the map. It might inspire the Germans finally to put some action back on the other direction. And not the least because these Volks Grenadiers should wipe the floor with the combat, the combat engineers. And even more so as these Grenadiers push in from behind. And just like Pop says back on the first Death Star, they came from behind! And there go the combat engineers away from the Soviets. So maybe that will inspire Runner to actually invest in some infantry. Maybe not, though. Meanwhile, over to the western side, Volks Grenadiers coming under intense action here. Wow, that entire thing's got taken out. Stupidly unlucky. STG squad going down there, and the Kanji, OKW is probably kind of shaking his head. That was a very, very quick drop there. It continues to be static over here in the east, which is a big issue for me, but we are going to see the Germans pushing out to the west potentially to take away and cut off this rifleman squad and this Zook-armed rifleman as well. Stam, though, for the meantime, is the only player really pushing out any kind of legitimate units. Got that captain out, has a 57mm coming in behind that. And while these guys are coming under intense firepower, they have just enough tools at their arsenal to potentially get forward. Unfortunately for them, they come under firepower from these other Volksgrens and Sturm Pioneers. They are encouraged rather quickly to retreat. But that's a 57mm out for the Americans. Not that the Germans have any kind of material to warrant that investment. Runner, in the meantime, calling another squad of combat engineers as well as a Zis gun. And he's got the munis to start leveraging kind of the quick artillery barrage, especially over here in the east. This area right here is a minefield of many things. Obviously, mortar, but a couple machine guns are nothing to sneeze at either. In the west, we are going to see the OKW Blob has been able to corner and cut off these riflemen. And these riflemen apparently don't know how to share. Only have 2 guys at the front of this house. And this incendiary grenade going on in will encourage them to leave.
We are now authorized to request more powerful units.
And Kitler is already on Battle Phase 3. 9 minutes, he's already on Battle Phase 3. Runner calling in some guards. Probably a good idea to start increasing his infantry forces over here, which are decent, but... Oh, no, excuse me. Calling in a 120mm mortar, my bad. To the west, we continue to see just this kind of soft lockdown. These between the rifle grenades and the machine gun and the 57mm and the Zook and the mortar, it's going to be a very hard position to push for the Germans. But I imagine if he tries really, really hard and believes in himself, that he'll find a way to make it happen. But in the meantime, we will see... Where's that half-track from Kitler gone? He's back in base. Not 100% sure why on that one. Oh well. Like I said, though, we're still seeing some kind of static play. Germans are trying to push over here to the west. Just watch this get savaged. Already going to see several models going down, another grenade going off, and every single squad's taking severe losses already. Gonna drop another model or 2 on retreat, not reverse. And that man dying in the waters of the French countryside. In the meantime, the German retreat has encouraged the Americans to push across the river And with the Schwerpanzer headquarters not quite set up just yet. Okay, well, he's got this fuel lockdown, but he doesn't have 100% the rest of the area as set. And there he goes, this gun firing off rounds downrange, trying to put pressure on this mortar team, and does a pretty good job of it.
The command vehicle has gone static. HQ operations now
Oh wow, that mortar's been brilliant. Dear God, one more round will get rid of him. And luckily for that Zis gun, he did not actually hang around, because the next model would have, next shell would have decrewed him completely. Let's think about what the Germans can do to kind of get themselves a little back on the horse. They are still up 60 some odd tickets, and it doesn't show any signs of stopping right now. We're going to see that defense in depth yet again. These grenadiers coming across into a hail of gunfire, and despite being behind this kind of seawall, river wall, they are going to take severe health damage. MG34 locking down this American push. These guys are all in negative cover, so I'm surprised these guys are even not pinned in just a couple of bursts of fire. But for the meantime, we are going to see these Germans rushing back to the attack, intent on revenge. These are the guys that got thrown back a few seconds ago. And I dare say now, as the smoke clears, that these riflemen will either have to retreat or die. And there we go. The smoke is clearing enough that the machine gun can get good firepower down. You can see it there. A bunch of GIs just going down super quickly. MG, in the meantime, encouraging the captain to pull back. And while Stam has been able to call a major on in, it doesn't mean that he's really got control of the map thus far. We are going to see a couple of fuel caches coming out over to the west and the east. These two strategic points leading back to base. Have the Germans done anything like that? No, they have not. No, they have not. But we are going to see mortar fire coming down on top of this bunker in the rear, and an S minefield going out for Kitler. He needs to hope and pray to the great Lord Jesus, or Ganesh, or whatever you want to pray to, that his own troops don't get caught out by mortar fire. As is, you can see that his machine gun has gotten taken out. And that is a big loss, I would say, right there. And now losing the bunker as well. That's 75 meters down the drain. Now, does he have a bunker back in base? Yes, he does. 60 meters, excuse me. I always think 75. That was the original one back in Co. 1. I was going to say Dawn of War for a second. Kitler going for the mechanized assault doctrine there. You can see that late game Tiga, and obviously it's probably what he's going to go for. Sight range increased by 10%. That's pretty boss right there. And he's going to call in both the mechanized assault group as well as assault grens. And it's kind of fun to see the difference between these two half-tracks. One of these is clearly meant for scouting and kind of a quick attack. Meanwhile, the other one is definitely built for reinforcement and that flame projection material to really control space on the battlefield. I think it almost looks like a taxi next to this one. This one looks like a legit car. Legit, like a stretched limo for infantry. This one looks like a Kubelwagen that has bigger armored plates on it. Obviously not quite the same thing, but, you know, let's speak metaphorically for a moment.
We may now deploy mechanized assault groups, Commander.
Okay, so Kitler can be calling more of those in if he wants to. I would probably say no. In fact, I would hope he's going to hang out for this Schrug. And you can kind of tell by how low all the command points that there hasn't been a lot of mixing up so far yet in this map. And I'm sure that's going to speed up as these players get more and more comfortable with the late game material. Indeed, we are going to see our OKW players decide to go for special operations. So while these troops are not going to be able to snoop on in and throw down unforeseen assault assault grenades, you know, he could have a bit of firepower that can really help him out at a critical time. What's more, though, we are going to see that Stam's troops are all basically right up in this area. And he's thinking about bringing in a Jackson. No, he changes his mind, switches it out for a Sherman. And this MG might as well just leave right now. Obosodaten being called in for the OKW player, and a couple of Rakettenwerfers coming on out. He must realize that there's probably going to be some tanks coming in fairly soon. And Schwerpanzer headquarters is doing great work, savaging this one rifleman squad. Another one trying to get close up to this building. Not going to be a great place for him to be, though. Although he does try to add some more fruit to the German diet. And there's a lot of AT on the field for not a lot of T. There's been very little vehicle play thus far, although Kitler has definitely tried to break that mold, bringing in the half-track assault group et al. Now, over here on the eastern side, his assault grunts are going to try to push back the conscripts, and will do so for a little bit. In the meantime, mortars go down in the western side for Stam, a little bit of a misplay, if I may say so myself. Su-76 is coming for Runner, and Stam calls in a Sherman now is completed. And the Germans blunder on into another bit of fiery death. Yikes. Yikes. It would be nice to see the Germans push across the center part of the map and indeed try to push around the flanks. This maxim here is almost here as an afterthought when you think about it. But again, neither player really wants to push too much on the German side of things. They figured, you know what, we have got 2 VPs under our control safely. Why push and, you know, potentially lose more guys? Kind of hard to disagree with them on that one. So where these were getting, first of all, both of them are sitting almost on top of each other. The second that Sherman comes through to start putting fire into these garrisons here, or no longer here, but formerly there, it would have gone very, very poorly for him. In the meantime, these conscripts are charging across the river trying to go and take this VP and realizing it's probably not good to go across alone. Kitler, in the meantime, does he have any sort of AT? He's got the Pigren squad. And he's calling in a Stug right now, so that could be kind of juicy. But he's got to watch out for this half-track. This half-track is going to take some intense firepower. Never mind, these guys are here to deflect. That's good. That's very good. Although these 120mm mortars are not going to be denied for long. And once again, here we go. We're going to see, yep, it's an HE round, so that machine gun crew is not going to be long for this world if they're not careful. And double smokes are coming out, so leaving the OKW infantry to kind of slash around from the eastern side of this little bit of a battlefield here. They're going to do really quite well because those SDGs are much better up close. You can see right there, geez, shredding that captain. Both of Kettenbergers are in range, though, to start pouring fire into the Sherman. The Sherman's not going to realize until it's too late, but the Sturm Pioneers might go down. Yep, there go the Sturm Pioneers. And he hits the ball putting Mortar of Doom. Interesting comment. Strange. Very, very strange. It appears over on the eastern side. Has he lost anything? No, he's not. Su-76 is pulled back in the meantime. Ball putting. I don't know what ball putting is. But this is basically just combined arms at its best. AT, AI, and indirect fire. That is how you want to actually control your troops pretty darn well. Conscripts in the meantime are going to come under fire between the Grens as well as the Stug. Toss out a Molotov cocktail, but it's not going to do a lot of damage. And indeed, we will see that the half-track take some damage and back away. Not so carefully, just kind of rush back as quickly as possible. And this Stug right here, this is a gorgeous piece of machinery. It's got a really great armor penetration, given half a chance. And you can tell that happened right there as the Su-76 gets plastered. Meanwhile, in the west, we are going to see a big cat entering the field. MG Bunker is going to go and suppress. No, he's going to pin the rear echelon troops in the middle part of the battlefield. Stam lost his vehicle. No, he's not. He still got his vehicle crew, so therefore he's either bailed out just in time or he's still okay. My guess is that he's still okay. Yep, they're just repairing that poor baby back up to full strength. That thing got hit pretty hard by rushing on in. Where was it? What's the old phrase? Fools rush in where wise men don't dare tread, something of that sort. Grenadiers, in the meantime, they're going to take some damage here. I'm wondering why this half-track is not being more aggressive to push back these combat engineers. There we go, finally getting him into play. And I really should probably kill him on retreat. No, not quite. No, sir. You're under mortar attack. Big stinking deal. You're a big metal box. Nevertheless, that mortar is getting a little bit of veterancy. It is kind of humorous, though, to see that Runner's troops are still pathetically undervetted up for being 20 minutes into this game. Indeed, the fact that we don't see everybody having full command pointage kind of shows you that it's been a fairly static game so far. I don't know if the US and Soviets are just trying to bleed out slowly, with the US and the USSR kind of playing a very easygoing game, or if it's just a wait and see for the Pershing to come on in. One more thing, if I'm thinking about it, I'm wondering why Runner has not already gone up to the Mechanized Armor Compania and started to pull down incredible amounts of 85 tanks. Looking at what he's got 360 fuel, and he's going to have even more before the next couple of minutes pass. And the fact that he's been a little bit less than aggressive is dismaying, to say the least. But no, in the meantime, we're just going to see a continual drain. No, wait, the Americans and Soviets have finally taken the middle VP. And they're backing it up with the Jackson over here, as well as the Sherman, who's now finally been fully repaired. And the question is, when will the Germans decide to get a small attack together? We can see already 20 minutes into this game that, well, that the Germans are afraid to push in the west. The Soviets are afraid to push in the east. And in the center, it seems to be whoever has a moderate bit of guts is going to continue to kind of hold things the way that they are. Speeding this game up in the meantime, though, I really do admit I picked up this game because it was Lisores River. And how often do you see games on that? I don't that often, I have to really admit. There we go. So Kitler is finally taking a chance, and he's going to lose this half-track super quickly. Yep, there we go. Down immediately. These assault grants are going to get butchered as well. Coming under tons of firepower between the Maxim as well as this Sherman et al. And that's going to be the phrase of the video, et al. Dual strokes over here in the east. I'm wondering why the Germans aren't just pushing on in and just crushing everything in front of them. Those are the good strokes as well, not like the, moderately garbage strokes. But no, he's just going to continue to to rock out more and more strokes. And 22 minutes and 16 seconds in, what will be the next assault? Interestingly, we're going to see bunkering up by Stam over here in the west. He's just going to drop tank traps all over the place. Does not want anybody to get through there. And if I'm Kitler, I'm throwing that arty barrage right here, right now. If nothing else, it forces my opponent back, and indeed might even be able to kind of clear away an assault position. But nope, Kitler's coming over here instead. He's going to drop rounds all over the Soviet position, but not really maximizing the effect. He's going to go basically for that mortar. And a couple of rounds might impact quickly enough. Yep, there it goes. That one's going to be No, it's the 120 mil, so that guy survives through everything. The Apocalypse doesn't kill that man. But it's so much more effective to drop it like right there, like I suggested. Unfortunately, Kitler cannot hear me. He cannot hear me right now at all. And instead, he's going to allow his ally to kind of perish over here in the middle part of the field. And although that Panther is there, the Panther is not being aggressive at all. He knows there's a Jackson there. And he must suppose there's some other kind of AT, potentially. But he's got so much equipment, these guys should be attacking like crazy. And instead we're seeing kind of like scared rabbit play. Over in the western side, the first of the 3485s, I keep saying that every single time, has come out of base, and very slowly we're going to see Pioneers come up to repair that poor guy right there. I imagine, speeding this back up a little bit more, that we'll probably see a push happening pretty darn soon. Yep, our Kanji player is shifting on forward, so he's going to get his guys cut out completely. He's firing rounds into... That was weird. That was super weird. Fired a round right into this sandbag. I would have gone, just kept him on forward and kept firing rounds anything I could at these armored vehicles. But no. He refuses to do so. He's not a conventional player, so he says. And instead, we're just going to see a resumption of the former status quo. Now, is Kanji waiting over here to get a Panther command tank, or is he just waiting to get another tank overall? I don't know, really, what his mindset is. But I do know that we're starting to see assault grants cheating over here, and no, here's another... Dude, okay, light arty barrage does not do a whole lot. It's the 8045, so you can see right there, a couple of rounds impact almost on top of him, and doesn't do much. Meanwhile, in the middle of the map, we're going to see... Well, okay, no, it's ISG putting rounds down. So I feel like I have 4 different players who are all channeling their inner Montgomery, trying to have incredible preparation before they make any kind of assault, which would be great. Except that the longer they wait to assault, the more powerful their opponents will be. And the more powerful their opponents will be means that they have to wait longer to outdo them. So it's that very annoying status quo that just continues to have this long drawn-out combat. Panther charging on forwards. There we go. Finally, the Panther getting a little bit of guts here. Gonna come under firepower from the Jackson and Sherman. Shouldn't be too worried, though. I mean, those things are a little bit underpowered by comparison, especially against the Panther by himself. MG is pushed back, and it looks like the mortars in the meantime are going to try to put fire down on what they suspect are the AT positions, I would suppose. And in the meantime, we're going to see Pioneer squads coming on in to remove this wire. Oh no, but here comes the Panther. He's charging on forwards. He's taking some hits, and I'm hoping we're going to see these... Nope, Rakettans are not pushing in at all. Although Rakettans were going to get close enough to maybe put some rounds into that Sherman, but they refuse to do so. They just want to stay home and bake cookies with their mothers, and who can blame them? I would like to see as well, to see maybe the Strokes, maybe something, just throwing rounds into these tank traps to destroy them, clear the path. Because right now you just have this continuous kind of stalemate. And it is not making for very, very good gameplay, we'll have to admit. I continue to think, though, that the second that we have a Pershing coming on in, that Stam's going to charge and be super, super aggressive. But one thing that will not go well... Oh, wait, there's no machine gun here. Okay, never mind. These guys are still going to take some very heavy losses. But a big push is happening out of the Kanji player. Rakettenwerfers moving in to throw rounds downrange. And while this Jackson might be able to take out this Panther, in fact, I'm guessing he probably will soon. No, never mind. Never mind, it's gone. I was wrong. Rakettenwerfer throwing rounds into this retreating Jackson. Any kind of brewing up? No. Wondering why this... Okay, there we go. Strom Pioneers are throwing rounds at this ambulance, excuse me. Even as this T-34-85 charges on in and gets blown to pieces. And the Germans have been able to crack the middle defense. They've lost a couple of men to do as well as their major battle tank, but they are shredding the American position. Of course, that's when the Pershing comes on in, and here's where the rubber meets the road. Now this western defense seems completely and totally worthless. Ambo over here to the west, and I didn't even notice he had two Ambos out. But Ambo to the west, kind of chilling over here with the major and one reinforcing rifleman. Germans have retaken the center part of the field, though, and the Strokes have crept in to throw rounds downrange, and indeed have been compelled just as swiftly to retreat. Now, is the Kanji player going to bring in a Panther command tank? I would think that'd be a good idea. And then maybe bring another tank on top of that. That's just me. You know your opponent's probably going to go for the Pershing. You might as well throw as many Rakettans as you can out there to just push them back like insane amounts. But in the meantime, we will see this little pack howitzer is going to get shredded. Assault Bren's doing the dirty business over here, killing the crew in record time. Indeed, though, coming under mortar fire, probably better for him to retreat right now. He's not doing it yet. And it looks like the abortive push by the Germans has been stalled and will probably be reversed pretty quickly. And at long last, we see a Panther command tank. Soon enough, I would hope, at 13 we'll see that immediate call-in for this Tiga. But there's no promises there, it seems, these days. Tons of manpower floating happening back and forth on these guys. It seems that the Germans are not playing up to their historical counterparts. They have manpower for days. Indeed, they do have bigger armies for the most part than their opponents. And we're going to see that last truck coming on in for the OKW. Meantime, Strokes, are they getting repaired? No, they're not. Where is the engineer corps? One's farting around in the back, putting up this heavy panzer corps. The other one's finally making it back to the front. And there we go. Finally repairing and reinforcing. Good job, boys. There you go. 234 to 367. 30 minutes in, we are going to see another barrage incoming. If that actually hits anything important, I'd be very impressed. Okay, so one unlucky hit would have taken out that machine gun, but of course there's nothing as unlucky hits, not in this game. And again, the Rakettenwerfer's just hanging out. I would think that between the Pershing and the Jackson, they'd be able to break this position pretty easily, even with Panzerfaust all over the place. But no, Stam is backing off a little bit. He's got the least resources now of everybody, although he has some of the most fuel. Runner, in the meantime, just continues to blow my mind. He's got all this infantry, all this armor, well, all this potential armor, and he's not doing anything with it. More wire being thrown down behind by these combat engineers, and it makes you wonder if they don't realize that you can just kind of cross the river, or what the deal is. I don't know. But indirect fire coming back and forth. You're going to see the last Wehrmachtschlepper. Oh, jeez. Are they finally pushing across? No, it's just the riflemen. Just riflemen. One squad, not even a full actual attack. He's trying to send these poor guys in unsupported. He deserves to lose them right now. He really does. He can't do that. We will see Obsodaten getting close enough just in time and taking some very, very nasty hits. But no, the Americans managed to cap the center position, and having achieved that goal, they back away. There has to be more tankage, I believe, from both sides. I keep waiting. There's going to be some, like, incredible major action once everyone gets comfortable with what they have. Pack howitzer trying to put rounds down on top of the captured pack howitzer and might be able to take him out with one more round. Will that happen? That was a pretty good hit right there. And Germans are just retaking the center VP, so what does it matter, really? Bit of a drawn-out game, but I continue to hope and wait for his big crush. This right here is screaming true Soviet attack. And in the meantime, we're going to see these Obos get pinned. Nope, they're going to retreat before that happens. It's a good decision right there. Wondering if somehow the Germans can push through these tank traps to the west. And indeed, if they break this position right here, that'd be just as good as anything else, I would think. And instead we're just going to see the Pershing and Jackson cheat over to the eastern side. Now we could finally see a big push coming up from the Allies, and between the 3485, the Jackson, and the Pershing, we're going to see some really big fireworks. Jackson snoops on force. The Pershing really should take the lead, and these three Stugs are not going to be enough to stop this attack. And indeed, we finally are going to see some Soviet wave assaults here. Stugs are probably going to put enough fire to get rid of these guys pretty quickly. No, they don't even see them technically yet. There we go. Finally they see their opponent. They're putting fire into them as much as possible. Still two... Wait, what? Never mind, they're putting fire into the rifle. Late arty barrage coming on down. There we go. Finally really placing a good idea. A well-placed one. Going to scatter force going better back to put it a little further back, but it's not going to happen. Indeed, we are going to see, though, the Stug armored core is going to get blown to pieces, and Kitler's infantry is not going to do much about it, although he is bringing a Tiger tank in finally. He has lost all of his armor in the meantime. And the Panther from the western side taking flanking shots into his 3485. I don't know if that's supposed to be... that's a good hit right there. Tiger is coming on in. Now what we're probably waiting for is for the Kanji player to call in a late game Königstiger, but that's going to be off for a little bit longer just yet. Now Pershing, in the meantime, this guy is still a dedicated infantry killer. He does so much damage. You can see right there, just dropping down 2 models without any kind of real damage. The Tiga's coming on in instead. He's going to put a round into the Jackson to get rid of one gadfly before getting after the Pershing. That'd be a good idea. There it goes. He's down. And now the Germans, I think, really should take this and push like crazy through right here. He's got all his infantry that's just not being utilized, and that just makes me want to weep. Now, Tiga's been marked, and that's not surprising. That often gets seen the second that a Tiga comes on the map, or a Königstiga. If your opponent has marked vehicle, he's going to throw that down super fast, so that way he can get as much extra damage as possible on it. That's what, I don't even know the exact numbers behind it, because it feels like it's going to be like a 10 or 15% more damage. I don't know off the top of my head what those numbers are. But instead of pushing the advantage, it seems the Germans are just content to sit back and, you know, continue having a little bit of schnapps and just chill. Not 100% sure why, considering that they must know they've been savaging the American army by quite a bit, and the Soviets are not in much better position. They have a lot of low-level infantry and a couple of indirect fire points, but nothing to really write home about. In the meantime, we're stuck with this 3-star veterancy squad of riflemen who should be getting devastated like crazy, and instead are feeding the Germans pineapple after pineapple. But the Obers get there just in time to delay the capture. I guess that's just enough of a victory for them. And the Americans back away, allowing the cheese to once again stand alone. 158 to 367. A little bit less than sterling game. We are going to see some more 84-85s, excuse me, 34-85s. I did it every single time coming on out. And Kitler is going to be calling in a Panzerwürfe, which is definitely a curious decision by itself. Were I him, I think I'd be calling in just more legit armor. But, you know, that's me, he's not me. I'd like to think that occasionally I could call one better than the players do, but I might be wrong on this one. Once again, with the Americans and the Soviets not really pressing the issue, why should he really go and make too much heavy armor when he can encourage the status quo by just barraging the living bejesus out of these people? Panzerwürfe, though, is cheating around the eastern road, and my hope is that he'll throw rounds right in this area. But knowing my luck, nope, he's throwing them over here. Here? Or here? Okay, underwhelming. Very underwhelming. Stam, in the meantime, has called another Jackson in. And he's ascended across the river just to get blown apart. Have you heard he's French? He's Napoleon blown apart. Panzer Grenadiers and Sturm Pioneers cheating on in one barrage of Shreks into this Jackson will be enough to destroy it, I think. If every single one of them hits, that would be pretty devastating. But no, instead, the Tiga comes on in and takes firepower like crazy. 30-45s butcher the poor thing, taking it out. There goes Kitler's major source of damage here. Now the question is, can he get a pound of flesh for the cost? No, instead we're seeing Shreks being dropped by these P-Grens, and Shreks galore being dropped, being blown to smithereens. And the eastern side of this battlefield has been completely and totally ripped open, giving up these Shreks, I would say, over to these conscript squads, and this massive wave of Soviets rushing onto the attack. Damaged engine right there, that's a lucky hit. That's a lucky crit, really. Grenadier squad's going to drop, though, in the meantime. Let's just rotate this around a little bit more. Panzerwürfe, if he could throw the barrage now, that'd be perfect, but I don't think he's going to get the chance to do so. Either the infantry will retreat, or will be victorious. I don't think he'll be able to effectively have that position handled. Late RD barrage has gone out, and the Panzerwürfe does go down instead. Rakettenwerfer is coming on in. That's at least a decent amount of damage, I suppose, potentially against this T-30-45. One more round should do it. There he goes. That's one small step for Germankind. But that's pretty much all we've really got on that one. Rakettenwerfer is perishing by the dozens. And German infantry is getting cut to shreds as well. 115 to 367. Again, I would like to see the Allies pushing together on more than just one occasion. Heck, I like to see the Germans do the same thing, but we can only get one of these at a time, it seems. Pack howitzers pushing back, decrewing both Rakettenwerfers as well as the pack howitzer that was captured, leaving this MG42 really by itself. This gun now is a little bit far forwards, and we'll take a little bit of damage, not too much. And more squads to continue to evaporate. Now, if I am this particular player, I am throwing down and bringing my Königstiger in now. Now. Sir, I'm telling you now, bring it in now. You've been able to call in for a little bit of time now. Well, 2,000 manpower, I think you could afford it. But no, instead we're going to see Grenadiers take some real damage from this T-34-85, which is, again, as per usual, just a wholly distressing matter, as the Pershing comes in with the T-34-85, the Jackson, and the Zisgun, and they just blow apart the Panther command tank. Now, more squads of P-Grens charge back into the fray, and lots of PaK-40s being called in. And for the first time in a while, I'm not 100% sure who really is going to win this. Because while the Germans had a chokehold over the game for the most part, because the Allies were just really stupidly chill. Now we have a Königstiege, which means the Pershing has more than a match. And there's enough AT, though, that Königstiege is not invulnerable. There's a saying in my country, man who has a camel is rich, but a man who drives a Lamborghini, he gets laid. But man who drives a Tiger tank, he is the best of both worlds. He must be rich, but yeah, that thing is insane. Doing a couple rounds downrange, he's got a, every echelon actually has a captured Shrek. Not a great position right there for him. His assault grants, they're going to try to get outside. They manage to get barely out of the firing arc. No, they're going to get close enough, though, to put fire into him. Might be able to take him out on retreat. No, instead they use their assault grenades, and that's going to be a fairly shredded Maxim. Now Königstiege is attacking, and I dare say this is the make or break for the Germans on the eastern flank. Now Kitler, in the meantime, also should be calling in another armored vehicle, like, immediately. But for right now, Königstiege is just going to do enough of the work. He's just carrying the team, putting him on his back, and we're just going to pray that that thing doesn't get brewed up in the process. He has allowed the Grenadiers over here, though, in the meantime, to probably capture this position, even though they shouldn't be allowed to do so. But 44 minutes into the game, it seems that the Germans have weathered the worst the Americans can throw at them. The Soviets, in the meantime, just kind of sit behind their tiny bits of water and steel and hang out. Both sides, though, seem to be gearing up for the next round of combat. All these PaK-40s over here, and that's going to be a brutal, brutal massacre of armored vehicles. Should everyone throw themselves to the attack right in this spot. Now, Kitler gets another Tiga out as well. We're going to see him push down to the eastern side of the map. And this is the time that I'm calling it an okie doke as the Allies. I have now put all of these tank traps over to the central part of the map, the west part of the map. I should be breaking these things and punching through a hole and coming in behind, taking out all these tech structures, crippling the German force here. But no. No, instead we're going to see the Königstiege take a couple of rounds from a distance. Marked vehicle going on again, unsurprisingly. And these PaKs, once they get their line of sight on these units, it's going to be a bloody mess. Let's see, this guy's got 9 kills already, and this is pretty much the reason I think I'm trying to pick up this particular game. Soviets charging in. There's going to be some... There we go, yep. Satchel charge going out. Another satchel charge going to be coming out as well. But the PaKs finally get into the fray. They're going to take out one of these T-34-85s pretty quickly. He's gone. But the PTRSs and the Penal Legionnaires have done their deadly work already, slaughtering that Königstiege in pretty much record time. Tiga's coming on in. PaK-40 is just barely missing their intended victim. And that's how he goes down. In the meantime, though, we will see this, that the Tiga, he's not royalty, is just barely limping away. 90 to 356, we're going to see the 120mm mortar dropping rounds down range. The Jackson getting a little bit of TLC from these rear echelons that are still armed with a Shrek. And the Germans again swarming over here between the 3 PaKs. Grenadier that gives the Faust, and these P-Grens who have their double Shreks, I think. Yep, that's one Shrek. Where's that second Shrek? Okay, I guess he only got one. That's a shame right there, but he's only got one Shrek. Light Arty Barrage? Why are you dropping it there, dude? Right here! I mean, that thing's not that... whatever. Whatever. I almost give in, guys. I almost give in. Let's obviously the Pershing attack, and I wonder, is this how we're going to see the Desolation of the American army. He's got to know that there's not that much left for the Germans on that side. There's like barely any tanks. And indeed, we're going to see this, the Pegrens throwing rounds. What one-shot wonder, taking out one Pegren squad and Rifleman taking out the other one. Packs are all that is left. And the Allies now have that 2-to-1 advantage on the map. But another Panther command tank being called on in. We're going to speed this back up a little bit more. Because the Königstiger is gone. He is never coming back, Jim. And it looks like the Americans and the Soviets are just creeping on forwards. We have another T-34-85 coming on in. In fact, we got 2 of them on the map. Runner just having a metric ton of fuel, while the Germans are just suffering heavily. I would say not having any. Lieutenant, in the meantime, charging on forward, is going to find himself getting slaughtered, though, by this attendant infantry. And indeed, actually serving up some pineapples, though, over to the Germans. He needs to back away pretty quickly, or else he's going to buy the big farm. And I forget, there's always this Maxim right back here. There's also this Pershing and the Jackson. Jackson not too good against the infantry, but that Pershing, well, he's got a real big mouth. Hey, and the Germans have finally pushed over here to the western side, pushing back and probably slaughtering the small group of people left behind. Indeed, yes, the Major's getting cut to pieces. Rear echelon squads as well. Yet that goes down. Major goes down. And there is the western approach. All's quiet on the western front for the longest time, but that's no longer going to be the case. Pershing rotating over to the west, I think. Meanwhile, pack howitzer and machine gun just doing victory fire. It's a 50 cal in the meantime. Maxims are charged on in, and that's also a Maxim as well. And Kitler, despite the fact that he's got tons and tons of infantry, is not dropping down and recrewing these packs, which is kind of, you know, annoying on many different levels. And indeed, we will see this Maxim's calling in firepower of an inordinate amount. And once again, Kitler only knows one way to get rid of this machine gun, and that is just to drop 120 munition artillery barrages down on top of it. At least he finally gets the kill for that one. Meantime, Panther command tank is calling on in, and he takes a round that just pings off his armor, luckily. And it might be the Germans pull out a trip cap for just a little bit of time on this map, and that might be all he needs to do. Excuse me. But the Pershing really could be throwing himself into the fray, and again, while it's been static most of the time, I feel like the Americans blew it by not pushing the western side. Everyone and their mother just tunneled over here in the east. And right or wrong, it's a very, very costly mistake. How many vehicles died over here? The Königstiger, at least one Tiger, several Stugs. As the Soviet infantry charges forward, this Tiger tank is going to meet them on the front face, and it really should be savaging them. 49 to 332. The Soviets are not taking this VP at all. While we're going to see the T-34-85s charging on and trying to get some damage done to the Tiga. Instead, they leave this entire point back here out in the open. Tiga, in the meantime, slams around into T-34-85 and gets some frame drops here. I'm not entirely sure why. Meanwhile, back in the west, Germans are flooded back across the river, and the Soviet infantry is just in tatters. Another squad going down there. 20 kills. Gone from nothing to 20 kills in about a second and a half, it feels like. Damage to the engine has happened here, but at the same time, I really don't think killing a Tiga is going to make or break this game. In the west, the Pershing is coming on in, going to devastate the German infantry if they're not careful. Faust. Yep, damaged engine. One more round to take him out. Which loader is better? It's going to be the German one. Yep, 25 tickets left, 23 tickets left, 23 to 332. The static gameplay is finally going the way of the dodo, I think, though, as our OKW player is just getting blown to pieces, his infantry dropping in droves. I'd be very impressed if we had a bunch of squads on the map who managed to get full veterancy. Just have not had a lot of it so far on this map. And in the meantime, okay, he's diving on and trying to pick up the Tiga. With only 10 tickets remaining, the question is, can he pick it up before it is too late? Rear armor hits. That'd be super annoying if that happens. Panzerfaust happens, another round comes on in. No rear armor hits happening here, but one more round from either side could be enough to finish it off. Rear armor hit again. Engine damage. I think the Tiga's going to get off just barely in time. Yep, he does. Just barely in time. And it's 6 out of 332. And the Obersoldaten are coming back, being called in droves as Runner starts very slowly building back up his armored tank force. Had he been a little more aggressive about it, he could definitely have destroyed things super quickly. And the Germans don't care how much they lose. They just want to take this point and end everything, which is completely understandable. Both the Germans have lost greatly to get to this point already. Sturm Pioneers rushing on in, trying desperately to take out this Pershing. Not going to happen yet, though, Stam says. He says, you know what, this is not an endangered species. I refuse to die. And squad after squad gets butchered like cattle. And the question is, will Stam get pushed back? Will this allow the Germans to take the victory that they were hoping for? With both the Jackson and the Pershing on the map, stupidly vetted up. This guy's got 48 kills. He's got 2. 27 kills on the Tiga tank, and it's just been a bit of a misplay, let's call it, to allow this last German infantryman on the west to seal the deal for the fatherland. And I believe that's going to be it for us today, folks. So 54 minutes in, almost 55, I think, by the end of it. Yep, going to be about 55 minutes in. It's going to be a German victory. Unfortunately, a little bit of static play, and forgive me on that one, guys. But I did want to show off that kind of big, massive engagement over here to the eastern side. It's kind of fun for me whenever that does go on. I guarantee also that I really picked this one because it was the Lisores Rivers, and I honestly have never really played on this map. But winner by way of knockout is going to be the Germans, 332-0. They basically held 2 VPs for most of the game, and the Soviets and the Americans led them. You can see right there that Stam floated 1,000 fuel, 1,000 munis. Soviets finally using some of their fuel, but still floating almost 500 fuel and almost 500 munitions. Let's not even get started over here on our kanji player. Regardless, thank you guys for sticking it out with me. Next time, we'll get some more 1v1 action, get some higher ELO play. But for the time being, this is Conor signing off. Take it easy, everybody.